isn't it the allure of the victim narrative? Like we're so attracted to that in Western culture, American culture in particular, because we're just
Yeah.
like born into these so many of these narratives through media and through television movies of this victim perpetrator narrative, and then that becoming that victim and then overcoming the oppressor to be able to achieve this higher version of yourself. But we don't talk enough about how it's self-protective. Like if I'm a victim, then I'm handing over my personal agency, and a lot of my
Yes.
challenges and problems that occur after that victimization can be attributed back to that person. Going back to this earlier podcast, like they thought you needed to go to your parents, and that somehow doing that was going to provide you some degree of like forgiveness, and they were going to just say, yes, we did this, we harmed you, it's our fault, we're sorry, and then that healing is
Yeah.
going to magically manifest itself into you
Yeah.
becoming a new person.
Well, I think that might have been what would have happened if they went to their parents, and that's how I see a lot of things, from weight loss programs to therapy. Is you have to ask yourself, does this person's experience, do they know what it's like to be me? Because that could be why what they see as a solution is a solution for them, but not me.
Mm.
But that's what used to make me think I was some kind of extra broken, worthless person, is when everybody said, "Oh, it was so great. I talked to the therapist. I had this epiphany. Everything went away." And I'm like, gee, this just goes on, and I feel worse. And I must be unfixable. And it turns out I had just really normal symptoms of trauma. They didn't know what it was at the time. Having a way to process that out of my head was the first thing. Finding out there's a word for it. It's a thing. It's not just Anna Runkle's personal failures and weirdness. It's a thing. It's a very common pattern. And that's one of the things I tell people when they join me in any kind of a Zoom call or in videos. I'm just like, these are normal symptoms. You're normal. You have normal symptoms for somebody who went through what you went through. And it was an abnormal situation.
Yeah.
But even then, I feel very disturbed. I heard a statistic that a quarter of adults, maybe I heard it from you, are cut off from their parents. Uh,
No, that didn't come from me. What do you mean by cut off from their parents?
they don't speak to them. A
Really?
quarter of adults in the United States don't speak to their parents.
Wow, that's pretty high.
Yeah. Oh gosh, what I wouldn't give to talk to my messed up parents.
Mm.
What I would, they died so long ago, but I wish I could go back and talk to them now that I'm able to be more neutral to them. It's easy when they're dead, right? But
Yeah, there's so many.
but
I mean, we can do an entire podcast and try to unpack that if it's true, because some of it's cultural, right? We live in this individualistic culture that
yeah,
we're kind of pushed to leave the nest to create things for ourselves. We're kind of disconnected from our elders. We're disconnected from traditions. Like
yeah.
that is something that has certainly interfered with our society. I think it's purposeful. I think it's designed for to create like the state to be the ultimate authority versus your connection to like God and family. But I mean,
I
that's my
I
thoughts.
I've come to this myself, and it's very hard to face because it's so terrible, but there's no other explanation for why it's so pervasive.
Yeah.
That there's I call it the nefarious force. It wants us disconnected, it wants us divided, it wants us not in truth. It wants us not to have agency. And what's so cool is the rebellion is that you connect with people and love them and you show up and tell the truth. It's terrible. You lose your job and all your followers and all that stuff, but oh, but it's glorious, to just like be in the truth at last. It's where all the energy is. Because what happens, I have these salons at my house every month for people who are often well-known journalists in free speech. I'm a free speech nut. And
Not a
I
nut.
really
Anyone who doesn't value that's the nut.
Well, yeah, I live in Berkeley, and as a kid I was dragged to those things, and somehow I ended up really caring about it. And in these last 10 years, really more here in Berkeley, it's been going on longer, where you're afraid to say things. That's just really a big theme that I'm working right now, is the spiritual energy of the truth, and how things collapse when you can't call things what they are, when you can't say what really happened. Healing isn't possible. It's just not. You can sort of heal, but there's this attachment. It's so hard. I think it's hard for us women. We want to be liked so much. I want to be included. I want to be one of the girls so much. But there's this tyrannical requirement to conform, and I just can't. I just don't always see things the same way. and it was a big liability now. And that's what I love about getting older is it's just like, oh well, you know, not so much to lose anymore. There's a lot to lose, but there's everything to gain. So I have these gatherings in my living room, and they're wonderful. And I meet people on Substack even, and people will end up flying from other countries to come meet with my friends so we can have a potluck dinner and just talk about stuff.
I'm waiting for that
And
invite.
yes,
Uh,
well, you're invited. You're like, by the way, I really like you to come, and everybody's already heard all about you. It's this ever growing list of people, but one of our rules is, this isn't a debate. This is like we listen, we ask questions. It's pretty great. But so, where was it? What was I trying to tell you
Free
about this?
speech.
Free speech and saying it. It's going very deep right now into this. It's the whole group. There's a consciousness that we're forming because for years we were deprived of companionship where we could just sort of like float ideas and talk about them and say what we really think. I think it was Matt Taibbi who drew a chart once and said if you forbid a topic of conversation, it takes about 20 years for it to disappear from consciousness.
Mm.
It just leaves the culture. Like people, you get an idea, maybe it's kind of crazy, and people go, no, no, it's not an alien, it's a comet, But you have to talk about it. You have to talk about it. And there's such a freeze on that. I went, oh yeah, well, it's very freezy here where I live. And so it's this sanctuary where we've been talking now. I started this years ago. Crappy Childhood Fairy grew out of that where because I was terrified. I wanted to do this for 20 years, but I was afraid to go out there and say therapy didn't work for me. And rightly so. They come after me, I'll tell you. Some people really don't like it and they want it to stop. They don't want you to say that it didn't work for you. And because I worked in medical education, I use very scrupulous language and I never claim like I'm not saying what you're doing is bad. I'm not saying, that everybody should follow what I'm doing. I'm very careful about it. But for every one of those hate mails, I get about, I don't know, 200 from people who are in clinical fields, from in psychology and the medical field. They come for their own healing. They never learned how to heal themselves. They recognize themselves in stuff that I'm saying. And I've asked them, 73% of them also refer their patients. So a lot of people who would ever like pay me for a course or something or come to a retreat, they say their therapist sent them.